Gary?
So I'm going to add a little something to a dead horse I've been beating for a while. I've pointed out, and we've discussed that in 2006, our staff was about, per thousand population, was about 20% higher than it is now. And that was cut relative, that was part of the process of cutting to keep our city moving and forward because of the 2008 crisis. What I'd like to see is a plan on how now we would be able to handle a similar crisis if it were occurred tomorrow, a year from now, 5 years from now. I'd like us to have some type of proactive thinking on how to handle that type of situation in the future. So, at some point, I think it would behoove us to consider directing staff to do that at some point. Not today, probably, but we should have those discussions seriously, in earnest, and then ask staff to also add that into this type of presentation that they give us, so that we can know how we want to behave, where we're going to cut, because we're not going to cut people. That's the one thing that this staff and management has done is, you know, everybody complains about fat in government, and it ain't here. And we should be proud of that. We should be proud of our staff and be gratefully every day to that situation. But that means is that's not part of the reserve that we have to cut in the situation anymore. That was a hidden reserve that we had. We don't have that. So what we see is what we got, and that's it. So anyway, I've made my comment.
The other thing too, and you did it with the last presentation, is that the millage, what this master plan equals this much millage. I mean, to show the people that what, you know, what the projects are and what's needed, how much that actually costs in real millage rate on their tax bill. Because we haven't gone the fee route, which, you know, the drainage would have been a situation where we could have really done that, but we've stayed with the flat millage, you know, and for various reasons, we've done that. But it's not sustainable, especially with the decrease. If you're talking like 500,000, that's a pretty big hit with the homestead. So, I don't know, those are gonna be
I
tough
can't resist.
discussions.
What did we budget for drainage?
500,000.
What's this figure right here? Just saying.
That's 1.5 plus mills.
I can't keep it. I was
That
going to be a
is.
good boy. I did say I would be. I'm sorry. I just can't help it.
So what else do you need from us right now?
So,
We're getting to the resolution,
so
right?
yeah, we'll do that in just a
Okay.
moment. So did council as a board want to set aside out of that 1.7 available use of reserves, set aside this 512 to bridge the gap for fiscal year 2020?
I don't think we have a choice not to, but I do.
But if we set it aside, it's just there.
It's just,
It's a
there.
placeholder.
It's a placeholder. It could always, you guys can always
Yeah.
change your mind at any time,
Yeah.
you know. It's just that we would reduce that available amount by that amount, knowing
Yes.
the look ahead.
yes,
Okay.
yes.
Okay. Thank you.
And keep that number
Yes.
for next year's discussion,
We can go to that slide just showing the millage.
right? Put it in there.
Put it
Put
in.
it in there.
Yeah.
So the effect of the millage rate on the 150,000 and 300,000 homestead residences, we've showed this slide before. For fiscal year 2019, it will be capped at the 2.1% CPI. So for a $150,000 home, that equates to a $10, and for a $300,000 home, $20. Any other questions on the budget? There is one item I wanted to bring up. It's not related to fiscal year 19 budget. It's more about the, well, it is. We were notified by our procurement department that they have, the company they use for piggybacking to purchase the PD vehicles, the police vehicles, has notified them that they need orders in for the 2019 Ford vehicles by the end of August. We have them budgeted for fiscal year 19, $100,000 from sales tax and $96,000 from the general fund. And we're just asking council permission to go ahead and issue that purchase order move the budget up to fiscal year 18, so we could issue that purchase order at the end of August. The vehicles will not come in before October 1st, and so the payment will be made in the new fiscal year. But delaying would cause the 2020 Ford vehicles won't even begin construction till June 2019, and the pricing will go up. So the contract, currently, we can stay within the current contract price if we order earlier.
I think that sounds very prudent.
Yes. Mhm.
How much are we talking about for that?
It's $196,000 for 5 vehicles.
I don't
I
know.
think I don't know if Chief wants to come in or not, but clearly, we tried, back in the day, we tried different styles of vehicles, and none of them really went over. So I'm assuming these are the SUVs, the Ford SUV that we've been getting? Yeah,
The new style that they
Okay,
just got.
yeah.
The same as this year's purchases.
okay. Would that be fine? So we could, what do we need to do? Give the city manager approval to?
Yeah, if you just give them the authority to go ahead and move that
We
budget
need to vote
up.
on that, or do we? Or is it
Consensus.
A
consensus?
consensus is fine? Is
Okay.
everybody okay with that?
Want a
I'm
motion
for
for
it.
it, to make it official?
Wouldn't hurt, but a consensus would be.
Okay, I'll move.
I'll second.
I'll second.
Okay, so we have a motion, a second, to allow the budget for 2018 for the vehicles, for the police vehicles. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried unanimously.
So now we'll go into the next item on the agenda, which is the resolution.
Yes, and this is a resolution which I'll read by title only. Resolution of the City of Punta Gorda, Florida, adopting a proposed millage rate for fiscal year 2018, 2019, setting a date, time, and place of public hearing to consider final adoption of the millage rate, and providing an effective date.
Okay, so this resolution recommends a proposed millage rate of 3.1969 mils. The calculated rollback rate is 3.0360, making the proposed millage rate 5.3% over the rolled back rate. This resolution also sets the tentative millage rate and proposed budget public hearing for September 5th, 2018 at 5:01 PM here in the City Council chambers.
Discussion, motions?
Motion to approve the millage rate at 3.1969 for 2019.
Second.
Second.
We have a motion, a second, to approve the resolution. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
4-1. Okay. All right, now we are moving into, we don't have any unfinished business. We have new business, which is the Action Register Quarterly Report.
Good morning. For the record, Mikhail Finkel, paralegal, executive assistant in the city manager's office. This item is before council. It's a council request. For those in the audience that may not know, the Action Register is a document that staff use to track projects, tasks, council initiatives. It is updated weekly, posted on the city's website under the weekly communications, typically on Thursdays. The reason that the quarterly report is coming to council is that sometimes these initiatives or staff don't act, or initiatives or projects don't actually have to come back before the council, so they just wanted an update as we go along. So, as I said, it's posted on the website weekly. At the end of the Action Register are completed items for the calendar year. We use that to keep track for strategic planning purposes. I'm just gonna run through some of the highlights. We're trying to get it up so you folks can see on the screen what it is. It was kind of funny, this document, the city manager updated it through the quarter, June 30th, before he left on vacation. And since then, we've updated it 2 more times. So it's a fluid document. Things are always happening. We've already, as part of the budget, we now have direction on the security facility enhancements. We'll move forth with that. The Historic District Lighting Inventory, the solicitation closed. We had 3 firms. They conducted interviews, and the ranked bidders will be negotiating with the procurement division on price. Ponce Park redesign, at this time, in September 2017, council saw the concept plans. The engineer has come in and met with staff for several design studios. However, we have not yet received actual design, 60% design plans. So there's,
When were those actually promised?
they're saying, months ago, Urban Design said,
Do we have any
months ago.
commitment of when they will be completed?
No,
I
that I'm
have, I
aware.
have another solution. I talked to Jeff Weiler last week. They're willing to do it for gratis, to get this moving. So if we have to do this, they're willing to do it.
I think we need to give Mr.
For
Hurston
gratis?
one last shot at this.
Did you say for gratis?
Yes.
So how should we handle that? Should we send them a letter? Should we give them some kind of further deadline? I mean,
Yes.
what do we want to do?
I think we have to call him to task because he's made a lot of commitments to us that he hasn't come up with the solution yet. And I know he's busy, but at the same time, we've got to get this done. We can't keep holding things back.
Does this include for the Peace River Wildlife Association too, or just for our part of the park?
Yeah. But like I said, I agree with Lynn that, I mean, we should give, you know,
Okay.
Mr. Hurston one last chance, but I'm saying that is the solution. If he's not able to do it, that.
Well,
Weiler
if we
engineers
pursue
can do
this
it.
solution, which I think isn't a bad idea at all, and I thank you for taking the initiative, we should also be having a discussion with the Peace River Wildlife Center
Yeah.
in concert with that also.
I agree.
Yeah, I've talked to them
So I think, you know,
one-on-one.
we need to have a one-on-one with them
Mm-hmm.
as we pursue a letter to Mr. Hurston, explain to,
What if we ask, what about putting it 60% on the August 22nd council meeting? Have him come and present it as an agenda item.
That sounds good.
And invite the Peace River
Yeah.
Wildlife.
And I think the negotiation has to happen through Howard's office, since that's where it originated from. And Peace River Wildlife Center is also in communication with Howard's office all the time. So I think that it should continue to go through him rather than any of us, because I think that he has been accountable to Howard and the staff upstairs. So I just think we have to give him that last opportunity to do something. And let's put a time-sensitive deadline on it.
So
I would
are you
agree
guys
to-
okay with putting it on the August 22nd council meeting?
Yeah.
I absolutely agree with you, but I think we should also be able, since we're allowed to talk in this room, to be able to send the message to Howard that we are very amenable to look at an alternate solution if this can't be brought to resolution very quickly.
Well, I think, yeah, if we can get the presentation, then we'll all be assured, reassured that we're still on time. But if it doesn't, if it doesn't come to fruition in that manner, then we know we're way behind.
And my point being is then if it doesn't come to fruition in August, then we're ready to take alternate action
are.
at that point in time.
And that's not easy to do, to have somebody come behind somebody else, either in engineering, construction,
Well, I
anything
understand.
like that. It's a
Been there
nightmare.
and done that. Understood.
So,
The other thing is that it is very time-sensitive, because the Wildlife Center has said many times, if it can't happen immediately at the end of season next year, they can't do it for another whole year after that. So,
Right.
they have to be able to be open for full season, and that's when their prime income time is.
So my point is, we should be instructing Howard to maybe have some parallel discussions, and, with
He
Peace
has.
River, with both engineering firms to see where, so that in August, we can make a definitive decision.
yep.
Okay, I'll take that. Review of options for parking in the historic district. That came after the restaurant over here and the Gilchrist Park parking. At this time, that project's kind of on hold. We're going to, based on council's direction, finish the Retta parking, the options that you selected for that, and then we'll see if council wants us to still go back and review that at a later date, but that will be at an out date, so I'll be moving that.
Because we
from
also
June.
heard at the business workshop about the downtown, we heard about that there are people that are still parking in the street parking and going to work all day and, not using those spaces for retail or, restaurant visitors. So we really do need to discuss that even further. because it was brought up that we used to have a 2-hour, or whatever the time frame was, and we used to enforce it. And so we did hear that at the workshop, yes.
But that's not what this one's about. This is about historic parking in the historic
The
district.
neighborhood,
Just the neighborhood
yeah.
here.
But it's all kind of related, I would think.
Well, but that was more for downtown people parking in the, they're parking in the parking spaces and staying there all day when,
But that's the historic district,
well,
isn't it?
okay, yeah, it is. But what this discussion was about was not, it was the historic district west of Harvey Street. It was the National Historic Registry Historic District. It was about that, because it was that's what the council conversation was about. It wasn't about the historic district was in the city center, so maybe, city center parking is another issue, which I don't disagree
But
that it's an issue.
we can discuss it all in one item, I would think, I would hope.
They're two very different things, so I think, in my view. One was more as it related to parking coming off of the Gilchrist Park and the impact on the historic homes and that kind of thing. So it was really, the discussion was, let's wait and finish all the parking along Retta Esplanade, and then at that point in time, see how the parking flow is and see what impacts there might be on the streets in the, in the historic district. That's a different conversation than parking, employees parking in the parking spaces all day and taking up
Yeah.
spaces for patrons.
Well, and the first conversation that you just referred to was also with regard to allowing parking on both sides of the street on the downtown historic streets, where the neighborhood's at. That
Yes.
was part of it, because people were complaining that there were people parking on both sides of the street, and it made it very difficult for cars to transverse on the road. So that was something that we had talked about, whether we were going to take another look at certain streets only allowing parking on one side of the street or the other.
But I think I think there is something to be gained with a holistic conversation about the flow itself. Because that's one of our problems, I think, is that we plan based on little pockets as opposed to a whole system. And I think it is worthy of looking at, if we're gonna have a conversation on parking, we should have a conversation on parking. I think it's worthy of the whole discussion.
Master plan. That goes into the master plan.
Yeah.
In some of these narrow streets where you might have parking on both sides, we need to get the fire department involved.
Yeah,
We need to always be sure, whatever we do, that a fire truck can get down that
Right.
street.
or any first responder vehicles of any kind.
Yeah, the fire truck's the biggest one, that's why.
Yeah, fire.
Oh, also, the garbage trucks with tippers, we want to make sure that they can get down there at least twice a week.
And the recycling guy with the big thing on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, medical marijuana ordinance, that'll be coming before council in second meeting in September. Development of an interstate exchange zoning classification. Urban design staff has been working on that. That's to address the area out by Jones Loop, the Walmart, the newly annexed areas. And I believe, is the public hearing in August, or they'll bring it as a discussion in August? They'll bring it back as a discussion at the August, probably the August 22nd meeting. Staff, I am working on the Chapter 6 rewrite after many years, hoping to have that to the advisory boards when they meet in August and September. Herald Court Center parking signage, after the CRA's direction, staff proceeded. There had to be some adjustments, and as the planning number came back around 16,000, Urban Design will now work with procurement on how to get those services.
Was that in the budget?
Yes, because it was coming from CRA.
Okay.
We discussed the renovations, and we now have staff direction on the renovations or refresh from City Hall. We'll do that. Bicycle capital improvements plan, that one is in a pending status. The 4 pilot projects were never proceeded with. We are now waiting, the county is doing a countywide bicycle plan. We believe it'll be done by the end of this calendar year, and then staff will be able to take a look and see what they're doing in the county and what, the city may do. Lashley Park, additional planning, that project was awarded. They had 120 days to complete it. The pre-con meeting will actually be tomorrow with staff. So that project we know needs to get done before the next festival season. So that's going to add approximately 41 parking spaces over by reconfiguring the roundabout. Strategic plan, we've requested input. It's been in the weekly report. We've sent it out to stakeholders. We're requesting that public input back by the end of July. So city council can consider that in the August-September timeframe, approving the
Can
fiscal.
you make sure that when they come in, you send them to us
Yes.
instead of just waiting to compile it?
Okay, yep, I can do that. Agripreneurial Garden and Fresh Market, that project is construction complete. Staff met last week with the group that's going to be running the market to go over some final details, and they hope to be planted by the fall planting season.
Team ready to go? Somebody come to the microphone.
I don't have.
Joan LeBeau, Urban Design Manager. We're working with the group now. They are looking to do a soft opening at the end of September, end of August, beginning of September, and fully open come October.
Okay, thank you.
Bird cut, we are still waiting on information from the property owner. He has asked to meet with urban design staff again, so we'll be scheduling that meeting with staff and the city manager. Burnt Soils undergrounding, we're just waiting for the FPL, which they're hoping to have the engineer's study completed at the end of the calendar year, or early 2019, so that the seasonal residents will be back when we want to hold informational education meetings on that, what the process is and the project itself. Gilchrist Park, restrooms, both the pavilions and the playground, we now have the confirmed Lomars for both projects. For the pavilion bathrooms near the pavilion, the 90% design is under review by staff. And the playground, we actually have the contractor mobilized last week. They were doing some coordination of the electric and stuff needed. So that, we should see that breaking ground shortly. Fair share impact fee study, probably saw in the newspaper, the county's changes. The city is in the process. We have a consultant who's met with staff to go over projects, possible future projects. Our consultant will be looking at bringing back some of the impact fees that we suspended during the economic downturn, looking at new alternatives. And the one thing about the impact fees, it is only related to infrastructure related to new growth. So it doesn't fund positions or stuff like that. So they're still working on information gathering. Boca Grande drainage improvements. Recently, staff identified several lots that possibly need to be acquired to be used as for ponds. Some of the things that they've been talking about is the council approved the purchase of the East Virginia property from the county. I don't remember the actual lot number. We're brainstorming things, if that could be traded. Some of the lots we have to require are Habitat owned now, trading and that kind of stuff to figure out how we can get those lots that are going to be needed for that project.
Have we looked to see if the county owns any other lots over there in that area?
I'm not sure we got that far into it
Okay.
yet, but we
'Cause I
will
know
be
that-
looking at all options. We've even brought up the 412 Allen Street that we foreclosed on. Could, that be a possible swap lot? So when we come up with some solutions, then we would bring that back to council. And that's the master plan. We all know what's coming on there. The Hurricane Irma repairs, they're going along. We did in June take an additional draw. It's our second draw of 1.75 million on the loan. The next part, we track our annexation progress. There's discussions going on, no signed agreements yet. We've been working at property owners at the corner of Taylor and Jones Loop Road to get those properties in. We've had conversations with, there are a couple, 2 to 3 properties that have split from the Coral Ridge Condominium Association, Commercial Condominium Association, which is right next to our Public Works campus. They're very eager to come in, and it may be something that we can partner and get the Cooper Street Public Works Utilities Campus, that whole corner. We're going to be working on that this summer. I was notified this week, Design Studio, we have 2 appointments for some smaller lot annexations down in the, by Burnt Store Presbyterian Church, a lot down there, and Cooper Street, off Cooper Street. So we'll get more information when we meet with them in Design Studio next week. And that's all I have, unless there's any other questions on
Questions for Mikhail?
Yep. Okay, thank you.
Okay, next we have recommendation from city officers, city manager.
That'll teach you.
Oh, let
Great
me
form.
see. Okay, hold on.
That's what Howard says.
Okay, so for the Historic Preservation Advisory Board alternate, Mr. James Williams has moved up to a regular seat, leaving a vacancy for an alternate. The appointment will be.
Yeah,
That's
Karen's.
Karen's.
Oh, what am I supposed to do then? I'm so sorry.
I don't know if you have any, did Howard send any, Mikhail? Recommendation from city officers?
care about these.
No, we've had no contact with Howard since he left for Ireland on July 4th.
So you're good,
I'm good.
because you brought the other item up under the budget.
Yes,
With the
so
police
sorry.
cars.
Thank you.
Yes. You're good.
Yes.
Notice how quickly we're able to work through the agenda when Howard's not here?
Yeah.
I am leaving after the meeting to head to our annual Municipal Attorneys Conference. That is part of the Florida League of Cities. And going to fill my head with all kinds of great new information to bring back to keep us current. So I'll be gone through the rest of the week. That's all I have.
So civic lessons for us for the, you
Yeah.
gotta save it till
Yeah.
August 22nd.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm actually, this is when we get the inside scoop of what the legislature has done to us that I need to be aware of, so.
That's a good way to put it.
And that's,
Again.
yeah, well, that's why we do it every year, because there's always something new. That's all I have.
Thank you. City clerk.
Okay, under boards and committees, vacancies, we do have an unexpired term for an alternate on the Historic Preservation Advisory Board, and also one on the Code Enforcement Board.
I also have one further question before I forget. We are still doing a casual attired meeting next week, right?
Yes.
This is not gonna be one of those things where all you guys come formal, and I'm gonna be wearing my Hawaiian shirt, right?
Right.
Yeah, they're gonna be wearing Hawaiian shirts.
We're all on board.
All right, thank you.
Okay, continuing on. Under nominations, we have a 3-year term on the Code Enforcement Board, and we have 3 eligible applicants.
Nominate all?
Okay, thank you, that's all I have.
Thanks. Okay, under policy and legislation, I have an item that I brought forth that hopefully you had time to read through. It's been suggested, and we're listening to our citizens, that the time of the meeting should be explored, and why are they at 9 a.m. every first and third Wednesday? Because it was reported that that was part of the charter, so I was gonna let Karen kind of give a historical overview on what's in the charter and what's not.
It's actually not addressed in the charter. But I can give you a brief history of what council has done with the meetings and the meeting dates and times. So prior to June of 1926, council meetings were actually held at 7:00 p.m. Then in June of 1926, there was a resolution adopted changing the meeting time to 3:00 in the afternoon. It was addressed many years later in 1975, where council changed the meeting time to 9:00 in the morning, and the dates were set at the first and third Wednesday of the month. In 1998, the subject came up, and council adopted a resolution just to temporarily change the second meeting of the month to an evening meeting, so that it was kind of a test, a trial, to see how that worked out. It didn't even last it was for 4 months, it didn't even last for 4 months. One of the council members said, it's the same people attending in the day or in the evening. One person said, well, they did it during the months of July through October. So one council member felt that perhaps it was because a lot of people, were up north. But the comment was that regardless of whether the people were up north or down here, since they're retired, it still wouldn't matter for that particular group. They would still attend, the morning meetings. So after that was again August of 1998, and we have found no official discussion, agenda item, or anything else where the topic was brought up and actually addressed, other than, the occasional workshop or the town hall meeting that was held at a different time of day. There was no discussion of the regularly scheduled monthly meetings to be changed to anything other than what we have right now.
Okay. So what I did is I asked the cities that are in the Southwest Florida League to answer those questions.
I'm sorry.
yeah.
Mayor. Just one more thing.
Yep.
The only thing the charter says is how many times council
Meets in a year.
meets, right, which is at least 22 times a year.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
So we asked the questions, and you got the responses there. So basically, it's like really, really all over the place for different cities. Like City of Fort Myers, they start first and third Mondays at 4:30. Cape Coral, they meet in the afternoon as well. I'm not sure what time. 4:30 again on Monday. So City of Cape Coral and City of Fort Myers are both 4:30 Monday meetings. I just brought this for discussion to see what your temperature was. I did have 2 ideas. The first is try the second meeting of the month at a later time. One thing that we did hear pretty consistently is that it's tough on the staff if they're going to, report to work at 8 or 8:30 in the morning and then have to stay here till evening time. But we could always shift those days so they could come in later because they know they have to stay later, if that was something that you would want to think about. The other suggestion that came about from talking to a couple of different people is that we could actually institute a workshop. And yes, it would be another meeting, but my idea of what this workshop would be, and from the feedback that I've had with the people that suggested it to me, is that it would be the second Wednesday of the month, and it would be an afternoon, whatever time, 4:30, 5 o'clock, it would start. And I know the county has workshops. We've been to those during the library discussion. I'm talking about a totally different format than what they do. I was thinking that our workshops could be discussion-only items, no action to be taken. So like the action register that could be one of the items at the workshop, where we go over everything, an update of what's going on. And then the other items that could come would be discussion only with no action taken. So the public they know that we're not gonna be doing something and taking action during that meeting. And then encourage as much public input as we could at that meeting. And then if there really aren't any items that fit that kind of category, then we wouldn't have one that month. But even just today in the budget discussion, talking about the drainage and going back to the thatch and the grass and all of that, like that really could be another discussion item to really drill down and figure out, is it possible to have the thatch ordinance and just, undo the drainage program and somehow work our way out of it with solutions? I mean, we've had those conversations in the council meetings and they went on and on and on, but really to get some experts, in here to tell us how we could go about, because it got so convoluted, that those discussions got so long and so convoluted that we just, kind of threw our hands up and went the other route to institute the drainage program. So that could be something that we could explore in that vein. So those are my two ideas, and I would like to hear from, yes, Jaha.
I like the first idea. I think, especially from evidence from the business meeting, that we have a lot of the population that we neglect seeing during the day because they have to work. And I think that having it one morning meeting, one afternoon meeting a month, I think would give the population a very good opportunity to participate in our process. I just think it would be a good idea in general.
Yes.
The only concern I have with that is on the various different meetings, we have agendas set, and what may be, that one individual that would be able to come in the afternoon, their topic of interest may be the week before on the morning agenda, and vice versa. And also from a business standpoint, I realize that we have a number of different businesses, but we have, it seems to me, a large portion of businesses that are restaurants or adhere to tourism that are open in the afternoons and the evenings, and it's the morning that they may actually have a better chance to come. I'm not sure, but it seems to me that could be the case for those types of businesses.
From talking to them, they would still prefer our afternoon and evening meeting,
Okay.
just from talking to owners.
I haven't talked to them. I'm just throwing that out.
I listened to what Karen said about the council trying it a number of years ago, almost 20 years ago. And I know recently in Burnt Store Isles Association, I received feedback from residents that work, that they would like to attend the board meetings. So their board decided, let's have our monthly board meetings in the evening. And so they scheduled the meetings to be in the evening and published that in the community. And nobody came. And and so they said, well, it's the same, exactly the same thing. It's the same people showing up. In fact, they actually had more people show up at the morning board meetings than they did the evening board meetings. So after about 3 months, they said, this is not serving us, or they went back to the morning meetings. I'm certainly willing to try something, but I would only say on a temporary basis, to give people, because I agree, we want to make sure that we're, listening and hearing if people are saying we need to give them an opportunity, and if we find it's the same people coming no matter when we do it, I think to make it easier on staff, it just makes sense to do what we're doing. But I would say that, a workshop certainly is a thought. So.
I have to say that I don't favor the idea at all. And the reasons why are many, but the most important thing is that city staff works 8:30 to 4:30 every day, and keeping them for much later hours. And in many cases, if you look at some of the meetings that go on in Cape Coral and in Northport, they actually have to vote to extend their meeting when they have public hearings, because if a public hearing is scheduled for the day of the meeting, but the meeting runs long, they actually have to vote to extend their meeting or reschedule the public hearing, and it becomes a huge problem. But just as importantly, the staff would be required to be accountable to the city for another 5 or 6 hours twice a month, and I think that's a ridiculous request. On a selfish side, my evenings are my time to do other things, and I have commitments that I have ongoing in all different evenings of the week for different reasons, whether it be meetings or personal commitments. And I mean, that wasn't what I bought into when I took this job. Not that I wouldn't attend them. I mean, I'm not saying I wouldn't come to the meetings, but the point is, I think what we have is working. There's very few people that have complained. I've talked to many of the business owners in the downtown community, and I have not heard the same thing you're hearing. So I can't agree that that's a problem. And we had one citizen come up and yell at us for 3 weeks ago, and this has all resulted from that. And quite honestly.
It's not just that. I've heard from several others, especially the ones that attended the business workshop. And of course, I discussed the employee issue with Howard, and he said the exempt employees, you know, they're exempt. So if they have to shift their day, there's no problem with that. I mean, we could definitely work out the employee issue so it's not a burden on them, so to say. And it is 1 day a month.
I just don't agree with the idea, and I would not be in favor of it.
Well, we're trying to listen, so that's why I brought it to the agenda.
We have our historic district home association meetings at 6 p.m., and they're quite well attended. And again, these are many of the people who would attend the evening meeting. I mean, again, these are people that can't attend during the day because they have to work. And I do think if we really are going to be, listen to the voice of the people, we have to actually let the people speak to us.
I always listen to the voice of the people. I never, ever don't listen to the voice of the people. I answer every email and every phone call I get. That's not the point.
Yes?
I would be amenable, because I think it would also be an opportunity for us, if we would work it in our schedule, to have a workshop a month that would cover the items that are probably gonna be on the agenda for a 2-month prior, so that those citizens that aren't able, would at least, we would be able to get a chance to hear their wisdom in a collective manner. But without overburdening staff and so forth. I don't think that we wanna do it twice a month or even once a
No.
month. But if we did like, one every other month and did 2 months, because we kind of know what's gonna be happening for the next couple of months anyway. To give and then try it. And if they don't show up, well then, fine. But if they do show up, that's even better, because then that gives us an opportunity to hear them face to face, and see them and listen to them and give them that opportunity to speak to us directly, collectively. It gets convoluted when they have to speak to us independently, because we don't get together very often to be able to hear collectively. And you, I think, can run the risk, like they say, if you put everybody around the room and you start a little rumor and everybody listens, by the time it comes all the way around, it's something that's completely different. So this would be a chance for us to collectively hear the body of citizens, if they so were inclined, to share their wisdom with us.
So
in a
you're
collective
leaning
manner.
toward the workshop idea?
Yeah, but like every other month, not, maybe
Yeah.
5 or 6 a year.
I wouldn't have a problem with that either. I mean, I think that makes more sense.
You had your hand up.
Yeah, I'm doing my best to stay out of the discussion because it's clearly a policy determination, but I do want to at least point out that some of the things that you discuss and vote on that are the most controversial or generate public interest are quasi-judicial.
Yeah, they would
And
not,
so it wouldn't be appropriate for a workshop.
right. Those items would not, no,
Could not.
no.
So just wanted to make
Yes,
sure
that
everyone
was in our
understanding that.
conversations as well with
Sure.
Mikhail, with the paralegal was on top of that when we were
Very good.
talking about the agenda item.
But the burden would be still on us to explain that to the citizens that come to the workshop, that there are, because of the way the laws are, there are some things that are off the table, but not because of our choice.
Well, it shouldn't even be on the, a workshop agenda if it's going to come forward as a quasi-judicial.
Oh, no, I understand that, but that doesn't mean a citizen is gonna come up here and say, why isn't that on the agenda? I'm just saying, we should be able to be.
Then the workshops will be redundant, then if we're gonna do it, we might as well just do a council meeting at night, then, I would say, so we're not wasting their time, because basically, we'd have to come back to the same issue. I mean, they wouldn't be able to participate in a judicial hearing if we didn't have it where they can attend it.
So you're leaning toward a evening meeting, second evening meeting, okay.
I'm not sure that I would agree with that, Jaha. I think there are often many times that there are things brought up. Staff brings things up on our agenda, they just want to get the temperature. They just want to find out, what does council think about this? And that happens all the time, and those are things that could be in a workshop.
But I'm talking about testifying, like example, we had a
No, the
confidential hearing, people who would be able to normally not be able to attend and testify, they'd be able to testify, that's what I'm saying. They wouldn't be able to if we just kept it status quo.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, and I also feel that no matter what when you try to hold a council meeting, you're going to disenfranchise somebody from not being able to attend a meeting. It's virtually impossible to schedule a meeting that somebody is not gonna be either here or something.
But we're certainly disenfranchising a whole segment population right now with certainty.
And I think too, well, if the workshop, if there is consensus to do the workshop, it gives us another opportunity from what you were saying, and I understand what you're saying too, Jaha, to educate people on, yes, and we could have the same thing that we have here at the end of the meeting, is 3 minutes, you can say whatever you want about whatever you want, right? It's not a give and take, it's not a conversation, it's a public comment, where if there are issues that are quasi-judicial, then we have another opportunity to explain to people that that's not gonna be discussed here tonight because it is a quasi-judicial matter, and it will come on the date and time, and that's where you have to come testify or, be part of the public hearing at that time.
But it doesn't preclude them to come up here and just give us their opinion,
Right,
as long as we don't discuss it.
right.
Is that correct?
Well, it puts a greater burden on you to disregard what the public has said in a non-public hearing fashion.
Yeah, okay. Good
Just
point.
like we get the emails. It
Yeah,
would be
I
treated the
understand.
same. We get the emails ahead of the projects or whatever the hearing is gonna be. We get the emails, they're usually included into the agenda package. It could be treated the same way.
No, it definitely could. I mean, there's nothing that would preclude someone from being able to say anything at open to public comment on a quasi-judicial proceeding. And that's all I have to say.
Okay. Well, I'm open for either one, so,
I still like the workshop, all due respect.
you're saying every other month.
Yeah, every other, I think, let's try it every other month and see how it goes.
So,
I could be down with it. I mean, if this is a cultural change. I mean, I could be agreeable to that.
so when would we start? In September? Well, we have we have 501s in September too, but we're talking about the second Wednesday. Is everybody okay with that?
I'm not clear. We still have to have 2 regular city council
Yes.
meetings. So you're adding a third meeting, which would be a workshop at night. Okay.
But not every month.
Right now, I think we're
Gary
talking.
suggested once every 2 months. I was gonna suggest once every 2 or 3 months. I don't
Yeah,
know that we
yeah.
have that much that we have to discuss. I
I'm
really don't.
negotiable on it. I like 3 months. I
And
think that's a good
and I
idea.
think that it's something we should try as a test market thing,
Quarterly.
and if it doesn't work out, we stop doing it.
And I think once we get into the master plan process, whenever that will take place, that's just another opportunity to hear from people that may not be able to attend the charrettes and the other parts of of that process.
Do we wanna do it, we could try it in September. Do we wanna do it in September, do we wanna wait until October? Like in the first quarter, so they're the
We do have the 2 budget hearings that are in the evening. just
September.
In September, so
So
just
I
throwing
would
that
say
out, that you
October.
have 2 meetings already.
October. October would be fine.
Yeah.
October takes a lot of pressure off of me from issues that I have in September.
Awesome.
What time of the day would we have it?
That evening.
I think 4:30 or 5.
5.
5.
5?
And that, now that you say that, 5:01, there's a reason why the state tells us that we have to have the budget meeting at 5 o'clock at night. That's state statute, because we can't have it at 9 in the morning.
Well, they actually state after 5, they
Right,
say after
after
5
5.
PM, so we go 5:01.
Yes.
Yes, and it should be noted that the legislatures don't have to attend those meetings.
And they can meet whatever time they want, whenever
Exactly.
they want. Yeah, we get that. I think October, and then we could try it for 6 months.
I
Or,
don't think we're gonna need 6 months to find out, but,
Well, if we do it every 3 months, we're only saying that we're gonna do it twice.
a year, I'm okay with whatever. I really want to, yeah.
I would say,
try
let's
it.
do it October and see
Okay.
what kind of response we get. And if it's a really great positive response that people want to input, we may want to, say, okay, let's do it again.
Well, I don't
in,
want to just commit to one.
No, because we need to give people a
Yeah.
chance to come.
To understand it, because even the other feedback that I heard from a couple of people, more than a couple, about the business workshop was like, well, we didn't have anything prepared, and we really didn't, we liked what we heard from the other people that spoke, so we didn't get up there to talk, and we really didn't know what we were supposed to say and how it was gonna be, you know, they were still trying to feel that out as well, but that was very positive. I
My
mean,
suggestion would be October and January, because November and December are holiday months.
Yes,
and
October and
people are gonna have
January would
lots
be
of
good.
distractions. All of us are gonna have lots of distractions, whether we're citizens or sitting up here, so I would say, let's go October and January. And
Okay.
if it has a great response, then we may wanna go February or so forth like that.
And then if we are in the process, the master plan is gearing up and we know the time frame, and there, things come out of that we can plug into this workshop, then we can just decide.
Okay.
All good.
All good?
Yes.
What day of the week are you?
The second Wednesday of October, so the 10th, and I don't have 2019 up here.
Okay.
Whatever the second Wednesday of January,
9th. January 9th.
5 o'clock, October 10th.
10th.
So we'll meet, regular meetings on the 3rd and the 17th, but the workshop will be October 10th.
That
Yes,
gives,
and you'll have to be here to keep us,
That's fine.
that'll give staff time to,
yes.
what do we
that'll
want to
give you
ask
time.
council as well? Okay.
Are you guys okay with the action register moving to that agenda? Would that be okay?
Yeah, I think it's great.
Okay. Thank you. And now we're gonna move, I don't have anything else, we're gonna move to Council Vice Mayor Wine's discussion about the September 19th meeting.
Okay, I have a non-negotiable commitment on the meeting of the 19th, that is Yom Kippur, which is my holiest day of the year. And if council would be able to consider, because I would like to participate in the meeting, to moving it either to Monday, Tuesday, or Thursday, I think were the acceptable dates, Karen? If you would be able to accommodate me, would be greatly appreciated. If you have other commitments, I certainly do understand that. It's my understanding some other councils have also done the same for their council persons too. So I'm just looking for, see if that's a problem, if we could have a consensus to move it for my benefit.
Yes.
I will not be at the 19th council meeting. I'll be out of town. I'm leaving actually on the 18th to go out of town for the rest of the week, so I will not be here that week. So if you're going to have it on the,
What day are you leaving?
I'm leaving on Tuesday morning, the 18th.
Okay,
So I'll be gone the rest of the week. I could attend on the 17th, if we had council on the 17th.
I'm fine. I think we should also move to not have council meetings on Yom Kippur, period. We just make a note of it, how our scheduling is. That's just, I'd say in general.
he made a motion.
To not have meetings on
Not have-
Yom
yeah,
Kippur for
on Yom Kippur.
eternity?
Yeah.
There's not a lot of us in the world that would necessarily
No,
be
but I
necessary.
think that's, no, but a deal even for our public comment. I mean,
Oh,
our
okay,
audience,
good
people
point.
can't come in.
Okay, I'll second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion, a second, to have a policy to not have a meeting on Yom Kippur.
Yes.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you, everybody.
You know, the school system, too, is changing a lot of stuff for Jewish holidays as
Yeah.
well, just so you know.
Okay, I appreciate it,
So
thank you very much.
you will need a motion to reschedule those.
Yeah, we're
I
trying to
was gonna
figure
so
that out
move.
right now.
I was gonna so move that we move our meeting to that Monday, the 17th.
7:30 PM?
No, actually, maybe we could sleep in, and let's make it at 12:30. Okay, at our normal time at 9 o'clock.
9 AM.
Yes.
And we also need, if you're gonna move the budget hearing, that's a 501 budget hearing, that date, so we would need that one.
Yes, so
If
our
you so
second,
choose.
our second budget hearing has to be within 15 days of the September, the first budget hearing.
And we need that, we need
Yeah.
4 people at least.
So are you
Yeah.
going to
So we would
motion
also
to
need
move
to
that
have a
too?
motion to.
Yeah, I'm
move that.
gonna motion that we also, that way all 5 of us can participate, that we,
Yes.
that we move both the city council meeting and the budget meeting to September the 17th
At 5:01.
at 5:01 for the
Budget
budget
hearing.
meeting.
So we have a
Or do we want,
motion.
we want to do both meetings at 5:01, right?
No.
I'm just teasing.
I would be okay with it.
I'm just teasing.
Okay, so you made a motion.
Second.
We have a motion, a second, to move the second budget hearing to Monday, September 17th at 5:01 PM. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So just,
But do we have a motion to move the council?
Council
do
meeting
that?
at 9 o'clock
9
and
o'clock?
the budget meeting at
Yes.
5:01.
Right,
Okay.
that was what the motion was.
that
both
was
of
what the
motion
motion was.
Just wanted to be clear.
Everybody's good?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay.
When will the agenda get published?
For a Monday meeting, would you want to brief with Howard like Thursday, Friday? We could have it out Wednesday.
Yeah,
Or
that
if
would be
you
good.
all can brief on the Friday before Thursday.
Okay.
So,
I'd say that,
we'll
yeah.
figure that with your briefing times when we can do that, either Thursday or Friday, so,
And you'll get the agenda out on the Wednesday before?
sure.
Okay. By
Do you know
close of
Howard's
business.
coming back from Ireland by then?
Yes.
Again, I want to thank everybody for accommodating. Thank you.
Yes.
You're welcome.
Any other?
Thank you for accommodating my schedule, too.
Yes, yeah.
Yes,
'cause We,
and
we
I
we
may-
do need you for the budget hearing,
Yeah,
so
thank
that's
you.
good.
I may not get to be at the ribbon cutting for the Tribune because I'm meeting with some of the relatives to some of this annexation discussion that's going on. I've got an annexation discussion going on with a property owner and a developer that morning at 9 o'clock, so we'll see how long things go.
Okay.
Actually, 9:45, so.
Gary, do you have any other comments? We're going to go into comments.
Oh, I thought we were, so.
Oh, yes, sorry. I just want to give him another chance.
I've said enough today.
Okay.
And have
Thank
a
you.
nice, I'll see you next week, so I don't have to make a comment about vacation.
Any more?
No.
Okay, thank you. Lynn?
Nothing.
I want to suggest that since we're doing the master plan, that we establish an assistant city manager position. I say this because we have an opportunity now that we're going through this major process, that we would have someone who would be in place, who would be in this process, know the city, especially the fact we're going through this whole financial analysis, that they'd be able to be there and they'd be able to mirror Howard so that we'd have someone who's going to be with us the next 10, 15 years. Because ultimately, when it came to succession plan, there was nothing for a city manager. It was like when he's done, and we're left with a gaping hole. And I think it would be irresponsible for us to go through such a major process and not accommodate. I think it's a perfect opportunity to place someone in there. And then that person who's assistant city manager, they would then be able to transition into the city manager position, when Howard's done. But I think that since we're going through this, I think it would only really be prudent to do so. That it would be irresponsible for us not to do this. And I think this is the perfect time. This person would be introduced to the city in a very robust manner. They'd be able to hear from all the citizens through the charrette process, and I just think it's a perfect opportunity to do this. And so I think it's important we do that. It's a good opportunity to do so.
So that would be another addition to the 2019 budget.
And it would be a one-time appropriation to be repaid.
Wouldn't be a one-time.
One-time
Oh, until Howard's
Yeah,
term is up.
yeah, then that would no longer be. a
Oh, I
budget
see
item.
what you're saying.
For 10 or 15 years.
Yeah. Because I think, we have to have this. We have to have stable city leadership, especially now that we're having this real view of the city, especially with the city now being in this very new stage. This is the first time the city, is not directing the economy of the county. And so there's a lot of forces, and so we need to have someone who's going to be in this seat, who's going to be longer than we all are here. And I think it's important, and I think we owe it to the city to help initiate that process.
Yes.
I think Jahan makes a very good point. I just would like to say for discussion, there could be an alternative way to do that, and that would be is to consciously and intentionally cross-train all of our department heads for potentially taking over the position. I think Kirsten's done a very good job today, by the way, even though you did try to
Take
do a
over
little bit more and
city.
take a little bit of Karen's job, et cetera. But I think that there would be a number of individuals that we could cross-train who could also, in this transition period, just because Howard's here, maybe we could have, them also perform some of those duties for Howard in addition to what they're regular, with the idea of cross-training, so that we'd have actually, in that case, more than one or two people in a position if we had an illness or if we had and actually, I'm not so sure that we shouldn't be cross-training between several different departments anyway, but if we had a cross-training program, we would be able to acquire the same thing without necessarily having to add any additional personnel.
I mean, I don't disagree with that, but the department heads they're already doing a lot of stuff.
Understood?
Hopefully Kristen does become our finance director, so she's you know, we're lucky to have that going for us, but I see what you're saying, but I also see what Jaha's saying, and in my conversations at the league, these city manager hirings are getting more competitive, and we've seen just locally.
And we had an assistant manager at one point.
Yes, we did, yeah.
You know, I'm not arguing that, I'm just throwing this up as an alternative. Now, to my point, and Kirsten, don't throw anything at me, you're absolutely right, they do have a lot going on, but that's also one way to find out who has the ability to juggle their time to be able to do the cross-training at the same time that they do their very important duties. It's a way to evaluate people under pressure at that point in time, too. So there's a pro and a con of it, you know. If you give somebody that's busy a little bit more to do, they say busy people are the ones that seem to find the time to do, are able to manage to make their time better. So there might be an advantage from that perspective, too. I think both issues should be discussed in the sooner rather than later, and that we should have a plan, which is really where I'm agreeing with Jaha, is we should have a consensus of a plan of transitioning Howard out in the future, because he is under contract. He's not going to be here for 10 or 15 years.
So do you want to bring it back on an agenda item?
I would like to say that let's bring it back as a discussion item at our first workshop. I think I understand the notion, and I think a transition plan is an important one. Having observed the whole Citizens Master Plan, the first time Howard was not here when that planning was going on, and came in at the conclusion of that process. I don't think that hindered him at all. In fact, I think it would be an attraction for us to be able to hire someone as a city manager, that the community is proactive, and we've been doing this. So I think that is certainly something that is a positive on our part. Whether or not it's in, at what point, but I think it's good to have the discussion.
See, I think that was the problem, is that we didn't implement the master plan. We created it before, but I think, waiting till October is too late. I think we should have someone hired to be here when we're doing the master plan process, because they would basically be groomed in the process of implementing it. Because I think that's the problem, is we had this idea, but the city didn't follow up. I think someone needs to really be in this process, and I think they also need someone who needs to be dedicated